Anyone can join in.
Yeah. Preparing to live stream the YouTube meeting. It's the YouTube live. And it should give us a link here in a minute.
Anyone can join in.
Yay. Yeah. And preparing to live stream the YouTube meeting. It's the YouTube live. And it should give us a link here in a minute. Okay, it's a little behind, but
anyone can join in.
yay. Yeah. And preparing to live stream the YouTube meeting. It's the YouTube live. And it should give us a link here in a minute. Okay, it's a little behind, but
anyone can join in.
yay. He said she put them on our Facebook. I happen to live stream the YouTube meeting. It's the YouTube live. And it should give us a link here in a minute. Okay, it's a little behind, but
anyone can join in.
yay. He said she put them in the chat. I happen to live stream the document our YouTube live link. And it should give us a link here in a minute. Okay, it's a little behind. Getting that feedback. YouTube live, is there something? Yeah, he said she put in the chat. I happen to live stream the document our YouTube live link. And it should give us a link here in a minute. Okay, it's a little behind. So if I mute this YouTube live, is there something? Yeah, he said she put. Ah, perfect. Okay.
You were just playing two sound streams.
That makes sense. Thank you. Yay.
All set.
Whew.
Just about.
I think we are just about set.
You are amazing time.
It's gonna be what it's gonna be, huh? Panicking doesn't help. So we go to conference program. We can show this. And we've got it for today.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have this video. Do you want me to play the video? Does the video work?
Hello, polar educators. First of all, I am
you
so
hear that,
jealous
Inga?
that you're all in Iceland together,
Perfect.
and I'm stuck here in.
Do we have to have it
But I
louder?
wonder, Betsy, if you could send me the link of the YouTube video, I can also put this on Facebook.
Okay, just a second. I'm hearing two different feed talks. So, I see down here. Sound button and higher.
My office in Ottawa, Canada, but I'm thrilled to join you virtually at the beginning of this awesome conference. Iceland is such a special place. It's where two of our students on ice expeditions have started over the last 20 years, and it's a perfect place for you guys to be gathering this week. A big hello to our students on ice, friends and alumni and family. Justin, Inga, Shelley, and Trevor, and I understand you will or already have had a chance to meet with Ambassador Jeanette Menzies. A huge congratulations to Polar Educators International. 10 years, your 10-year anniversary is quite an accomplishment, so congratulations. I remember clearly in 2008 at the International Polar Year Conference in Montreal, when the seeds were first planted for polar educators. And look how far it's come. It's a great example and proof of what can happen when passionate, amazing people come together.
Good. All right, Inga, did you need something? Were you going to say something? No? Okay.
No, I just thought if you could send me the YouTube link, I could put it on Facebook, but.
I put it in the chat.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't. Yeah,
No
sorry.
worries, no worries. Thanks.
But I will only put it on Facebook when we really start, right?
Yeah, which should be in Oh, should be 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, we'll get people in the room here.
So you start with opening the meeting, and I
Um,
make a presentation or what?
yeah, so right now we have just an introduction.
Yes.
So I will go ahead and just get everybody in and then turn it over to you. And then we'll do Geoff's video and then my video. Sophie and I have a presentation and then your glaciers.
Fine.
Okay. All right, let's get people in here.
You might want to put up the banner. I have the banner with the. This is Snævarr Betsy.
Nice to meet you.
Doing it back.
Ja, Ina, ich bin's, die Anja. Grüß dich.
Hi.
Du, ich wollte nur fragen, ob du die Mail oder die WhatsApp bekommen hast.
14:30 Uhr.
Genau,
Oder? Ja.
genau, weil ich es anders nicht mehr gebacken kriege.
I was taking a conference program.
Bless you, Hjördís. Bless us all. Bless us all, Oddur hérna. Já, það víst, já, það þetta Gríma. Þetta bara sér kröfur í hérna frá stundin höldurunum. Mjög viðkvæmur fyrir þessu. People shy?
I don't know. Hey, Bill, get everybody in here. We're live.
Nothing increasing at all. Where are people? Oh, yesterday, she had a very meeting with Snævarr Guðmundsson. She is on the committee of the elected. She was called an emergency meeting at 12:30.
Okay.
Twenty-one of people have arrived. Are the people out there or are they still at the hotel?
All right, everyone, thank you for coming. We have the Wi-Fi password up there for you. We are streaming live. If you can give a, I don't think Inga can see you, but Inga, everyone's going to wave at you. Inga is in Germany running our remote version for people. Thank you, Inga. And she's the one that's helping us do social media today. So we go quickly to the conference program, and we're going to start out with a welcome here. And I want to turn it over right now to Oddur.
Thank you very much for coming to Iceland. You're welcome. And I do hope that this is going to bring you some spirit to bring to the future generations information about the world which was, because the world is changing very fast. And I just hope that this workshop will be a worthwhile time to pursue this aim of bringing information to the future. Very welcome.
Next, we are going to hear from Canada and Geoff Greene. Let me see if I can find that here.
Maybe you can turn down the lights.
Yeah. I'm going to minimize this.
Hello, polar educators. First of all, I am so jealous that you're all in Iceland together, and I'm stuck here in my office in Ottawa, Canada. But I'm thrilled to join you virtually at the beginning of this awesome conference. Iceland is such a special place. It's where 2 of our students on ice expeditions have started over the last 20 years. It's a perfect place for you guys to be gathering this week. A big hello to our students on ice, friends and alumni and family, Justin, Inga, Shelley and Trevor, and I understand you will or already have had a chance to meet with Ambassador Jeanette Menzies. A huge congratulations to Polar Educators International. 10 years, your 10-year anniversary. It's quite an accomplishment, so congratulations. I remember clearly in 2008 at the International Polar Year Conference in Montreal, when the seeds were first planted for polar educators. And look how far it's come. It's a great example and proof of what can happen when passionate, amazing people come together and put their minds together and their hearts towards a cause or a mission. And I have no doubt that so many more great things are going to take place this week. 10 more years. The world needs more polar educators. This is such a critical time for planet Earth for so many reasons. There are opportunities, but lots of challenges. As we know, the polar regions are windows to the world, cornerstones of the global ecosystem. In fact, where you're sitting right now in Iceland is at the top of the longest mountain range in the world, stretching from Iceland almost to Antarctica. And that just is a reminder how everything is connected on this planet. And what happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic. It's a homeland, it's a classroom, it's such a platform for peace and understanding, geopolitical issues that are front and center now more than ever before. So the work you're doing is extremely important, and I congratulate all of you for being there. For Students on Ice, this is our 22nd year using the polar regions as classrooms. We've taken thousands of youth from all over the world, together with scientists and educators and experts and elders and musicians and you name it. And we're looking forward to doing a lot more in the years to come. And I would love to collaborate more with polar educators. We always need polar educators on our expeditions. So let's keep in touch. And I'm thrilled that Linda Brown from our team is going to join you for a quick Snapchat presentation to share some of our future plans with you later this coming week. I love the theme of your gathering, Stories in Ice. It's in those stories that we can find, and you will find, the inspiration, the motivation, the connections, the ideas, the solutions and actions that we so critically need. And what a group size you have, 30 people. That's what every conference should be, in fact. And those relationships that you guys form this week are going to lead to incredible places in the months and the years to come. And I look forward to hearing all about it. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. And I hope to see you all soon. Thanks a lot.
There you go, back over there. All right, so let me officially introduce myself. I met most of you all at check-in yesterday, and I've been talking to all of you off and on a little bit over the last day or so. I'm Betsy Wilkening. I'm the president of PEI, and I live in Tucson, Arizona, on the lands of the Tohono O'odham and Pasquayaqui people. And I often get the question, why are you a polar educator? I'm living in the heart of the Sonoran Desert. I'm a 5th generation Tucsonan, and my kids are 6th generation. And I really don't know if it's going to be livable for a 7th generation in my family. We have every single year is now a record-breaking year for heat in our area. You know, and I think back on the generations, and my dad, used to sleep outside at night because they didn't have air conditioning. And he'd wet down the dirt and they'd sit outside at night and there'd be evaporative cooling and they would be able to sleep comfortably until the sun came up. And then they would go inside into their adobe house and it'd be nice and cool and sleep a little bit more. When I grew up, we had evaporative air conditioning, which is just basically blowing wet air on you, and it would cool off at night. And it would be nice, and we could live with that, except for a couple months when our monsoon rains came in, it was a little humid, but it wasn't super hot. Now with our temperatures regularly over 40 degrees during the day, Celsius for those of you, I always put my head in Celsius in the summer, because when it gets to 43 or about 111 degrees, it doesn't seem that bad. And, you know, when you have an evaporative cooler, you're only cooling it like 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you have that, it's still going to be super hot. And we have so many people in our communities now that can only afford an evaporative cooler, and they're experiencing this extreme heat. We have the people that are going out, working outside, experiencing this heat. And construction workers people that work outside start way before the sun comes up. We don't do daylight savings in Arizona because we don't want that sun. It's too hot. We can't be outside during that time. So then I think about my own kids, the next generation. And they were probably the last generation. We don't fund our schools very well, but they were the last generation I had to put them on a school bus with no air conditioning. They'd come home. We start school in August and they'd be dead. And whoops. So I would end up picking them up at the school bus. They wouldn't have to walk that quarter of a mile home and turning on the air conditioning in the car. And then I think about the next generation of my family. My sister brought her grandson over the other day to play. So about 3 weeks ago, middle of March, and we walked down to the playground, and at 10 in the morning, the slides were too hot for him to play on. You know, when I was working with people doing heat monitoring with our teachers and our students, and some of the hottest surfaces on schoolyards are the playgrounds. And because we don't have enough water, a lot of schools are putting in artificial grass. You can burn your feet on that. It is super hot. And so, you know, we are experiencing climate change. And what is happening, I think back to what Geoff said when we had the IPY in Montreal, where Polar Educators was found. One of the keynote speakers there was Ronnie Jamot from the Seychelles Islands. And he said, you know, people asked him, you're from a tropical island, why are you at a Polar Educator conference or a polar conference? And he said, well, when the poles melt, we drown. And so where I'm from, when the poles melt, we get extremely hot. We don't have enough water. We're experiencing the first shortage conditions on the Colorado River, where we get a lot of our water from. We have wildfires. We're, like I said, we're at front and center right now for climate change, and it's starting in our polar regions. So that's one of the reasons I'm a polar educator. And a big theme of our conference here is connect. And I try and make people connect to the polar regions where I live in the Sonoran Desert. I know you all live somewhere, some of you are in the polar regions, and connecting to other parts of the world, connecting to each other. I would like to challenge you all to connect with each other this week, connect with this wonderful place we're in, and think about that story that you're going to be going home with, that one that you're going to tell people about, you know, what we saw, and we're going to see a lot more over the next 2 days. And connect to somebody else that you haven't connected with yet in this conference, someone else that lives somewhere different than you, and understand their connection to the polar region, their connection to your home, And we're really going to delve into it tomorrow. You know, what is home and what does it mean? So that's the introduction to our conference. And I believe Sophie and I are up next. Let me have Sophie introduce herself officially.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I haven't spoken to you yet. I'm very short and can't see over the top of the computer. I'm Sophie Weeks. I started my polar education commitment, or I can't speak louder than my mask. I'm going to take it off. Where's the mic? Here. Okay. So I started my polar education commitment and passion when I was working for the Scott Polar Research Institute in Cambridge. My actual title was Museum Education Officer. I did not stick to that brief exactly entirely. So my career is in museum education. I am passionate about source-based learning, so using objects and things to inspire conversations and dialogue, to consider ideas and concepts, to think about the past, the present and the future. But when I discovered that there were researchers on the top 2 floors of the Scott Polar Research Institute, I crossed the boundary from the museum to begin to work with some of the researchers and to connect the work that they were doing with many school children, parents, teachers, various special needs groups, public who used to come to the museum and take part in the museum education program. I was lucky enough when I was there to go to Montreal. Thank you, Geoff, for paying for my airfare and my hotel, which I know is a big deal for getting to a conference. But this is where I met some of the people who are here today. So those of you who are here for the first time connecting with Polar Educators International, that was 2012. And look, we're still here. The passion for teaching using these regions and learning more about these regions to learn more about the world and the way we live is, what's the word, compulsive, addictive, but also extremely rewarding. So that is why I give my time for free to Polar Educators International, like many of the ExCom and Council who come to our meetings and share their ideas and think up projects to do, and desperately try to get a secretariat, because we've been trying for over 10 years to find a sort of stable base so that we can grow our numbers and sustain our numbers. So that's me. I'm also an artist. Sorry for those of you who don't get artists, but if anyone wants to talk creativity with me, I can't remember the time when I haven't been creative, but I also have degrees in history of art and philosophy and fine art. I did start my life as a geophysicist, so I'm a complete anomaly and don't fit anywhere. And I try to combine all of these things in my approach to science communication. So weave in the creativity and the amazing creativity of sci artists and artists who work with scientists around the world today to share what they're doing. I weave in bits of the science that I love, and I love working with scientists, and yeah, that's me. Sorry, mixture, strange mix of a person. Also have a daughter who's just turned 18, and so my life is going to change because I have one child and she's going to leave soon. So yeah, whole new era in my life. What will I do next? I don't know. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about a mixture of all of those things.
So we're going to put you to work a little bit. So we were talking about it a bit on the bus activities yesterday. We heard so many wonderful stories from Oddur, and we want you to think about what story brought you here. What story are you building? You may not know yet, but hopefully it'll come to you over the next few days. What story are you going to tell after the conference? How are you going to tell that story? And who will hear your story? So we're going to do a little technology here. If you have a QR code reader, you can go to this QR code, or else go to menti.com and type in gobbledygook on the end.
It's a good photo. Measure. We can read out the link if you need the link.
Leave it on.
They don't need an app, do they? They just go to.
Nope, they just go to the browser
So it's going to take you to a website.
and you don't need to log in. But you do need to probably log into the Wi-Fi, which I think most of you have.
We're going to look for confused faces behind masks, so that's quite difficult. But can you look confused with your eyebrows?
We have to bring up a classroom teacher from the last 2 years to do that for us. Confused faces behind masks. Who knew? We'll give you a minute on this first.
Sally, I was told that by an Inuit doll maker that you say yes by raising your eyebrows. Is that right? And down is a kind of frown. Okay, so there you go. You can say yes with your eyebrows and look no with down. We thought you were consenting. Yeah. Yeah. How are we doing? If you managed it, look up at us and give us a high eyebrow. Good eyebrows there.
We'll go and see in a minute what you're responding.
Will it just pop up on the? Oh yeah.
I have to go to a different screen, but I don't want to leave this screen.
Looks like everyone's managed.
Like everybody's getting it. Let's see here. Yeah, go. Oh, it's not letting you start. No, there it is. Okay. So this is your input here, and it changes the words that are larger are the ones that are in common with others. So
thank goodness. One of our core values is right in the middle.
passion, engagement. Nice.
So if you thought it was going to be a conference where you sat there doing nothing, what you're thinking and what you're feeling and what you need will feed into what we're doing here over the next 2 days.
All right, let me see if I can get you to the next question here.
We'll come back to it.
That's fine.
That worked really nicely.
Yeah, let me go to the next question.
There was even a gasp from the audience.
And let's see, does that work to get to the next question?
Maybe go back to the main slide. Oh, the next question is about creativity.
Okay, let's see if we can see the next question yet. Yep, here it goes. Okay, next question is, let me go back over to here. What does creativity mean to you? Are you able to get to that question yet, or do I need to set it up? Okay.
Thanks. Thanks, Anne. Thank you.
What does creativity mean to you? should start scrolling. Hey. Have some engineers in there. Finding a solution. I started out life as an engineer.
And now look what happened.
Now look what happened, yeah.
There's robotics in her spare time underwater
I know.
with kids.
That aren't doing their homework, I noticed. I got an email today. It's hard to teach an underwater robotic class online. Nice. Finding new solutions.
We're capturing these, aren't we? So we can
Yeah.
put them on the-
Mhm. Yeah, we will. We will share all of these because we're going to keep building on it.
I think that the idea will be to share it perhaps outside in the coffee spaces and the relaxing spaces, so that it's always there feeding what you do, and you can feed back into it. So like a feedback loop.
I like the bubble of joyful thought. Let's all encompass ourselves in that bubble. And originality, expression keeps coming up. Possibilities, risks. Different aspects, different perspectives. So wonderful. All right, so on menti.com, while you're there, there's going to be another one for you. So let me go to here.
Last one, promise.
You can QR it again, or you could, if you're on the website. The problem is I only have a free Menti, so you can only do 2 questions at a time when it's free. Yeah, this one is what words do you use to describe culture? I know, it's early in the morning, we're making you work.
Wish I had said it was wonderful. It set off the wrong thing.
Go to this. Sweep out of here. Let me make sure we have this one. And where's this one? Right here. Go to culture. And present. All right, a variety of answers. Great. So we have connectedness, belief systems, diversity, identity, traditions, family, heritage, society, food, community, rituals, reflection of environment, ways of thinking, interaction, sharing, possibilities. Nice. And let's do the second one. And this one is a challenge for you to connect science, creativity, and culture. So how are you going to connect those three things? How do they connect in your brain? How are ways that you might be connecting them? Stories, yes, that's our conference.
Great minds thinking. Or different network too.
Nice. Weaving and identifying concepts and themes throughout multiple cultural viewpoints. We did a lot of systems thinking stuff in my previous job and teaching teachers and students systems thinking, and it was always perspective taking was a really big part of it. I'm going to scroll. It's not scrolling. Come on, scroll. Anyway. So we will share all of these with you, these answers. I don't know if that'll make it scroll.
And hopefully the collaborative food for thought can feed into your thoughts of those 5 big questions about the conference and the stories that you want to tell and take away from the conference. I can't, on account of having had COVID, I can't do teacher voice today, I'm sorry. But we're just saying that we're going to share what you have collaboratively written here. It will feed into those first 5 questions on that first slide about the stories that you're bringing here and the stories that you want to take away. And hopefully you'll build a picture of what your story that you're going to take away will be using this wonderful collaborative input.
So you will see it again because you will have homework. Hard homework, but we will have homework. And so, yeah, so wrapping it all up, as Sophie said, building that story, thinking about your story. Okay. We have Oddur next. No, Oddur. Oh, we have all these keynotes. Oh, yeah. All right. Next, we are going to bring up our host, Oddur, to present.
Thank you, and sorry I can't talk loud. I'm sorry.
And we should be able to just advance the slides back.
Thank you. I wanted to say in the beginning, I'm particularly happy to see those very young people who are going to have many, many, many years and decades in telling somebody else about, usually younger people, about their experience and their knowledge and whatever. I want to tell you a little bit about the fate of Iceland's glaciers. This is the one glacier that met sea seafarers from when they settled the country, and it's one of the first glaciers that is mentioned in literature in Iceland. It is supposed to disappear entirely within a few decades. So that will be the last of it. And we have a story of a glacier that has already left us. This is the Ok Glacier, Okjökull, in Western Iceland. It was in 1990, a beautiful cupola on the northern side of an extinct volcano, about 4 square kilometers at that time. And 13 years later, it was down to this size, about 3 square kilometers. And you see that there are dirt lines all over the glacier. This means that there is no accumulation zone left on this glacier. To be healthy, a glacier needs an accumulation zone that is approximately 60 to 70% of the area. This is down to 0. So it has no way to go except disappear. And this is what it looked like in 2014. And you see it's just a patch of ice which is dissected by water, and living ice, living glacier is moving, and it heals its wounds inflicted from water, but this one doesn't anymore. It's dead ice. And this is the outlines, like the red one was in 1890, about 15 square kilometers. Then in 2000, it was down to 4 square kilometers. In 2012, it was down to 0.7. And in 2014, it was decided that it was a dead glacier, not existing as a glacier anymore. Just like this mummified bird that I found on the surface of this glacier, probably fell down on it a couple of centuries ago. But just to put in a little more color in here, is one of the Icelandic insects, like a Boeing airplane. And we had a memorial ceremony in 2019, and it was visited by many people, like Mary Robinson, the former President of Ireland, Prime Minister of Iceland, Katrín Jakobsdóttir, the Minister of Environment, Guðmundur Ingi, and the designer of the Harpa concert hall in Reykjavík, quite some celebrities. And this was the message that mostly young people brought up there: declare emergency now. Global climate crisis. And we put a plaque on a stone, a letter to the future. Ok is the first Icelandic glacier, or renowned glacier, to lose its status as glacier. In the next 200 years, all our glaciers are expected to follow the same path. This monument is to acknowledge that we know what is happening and what needs to be done. Only you, means the future generation, know if we did it. So at that moment, the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere was 415 ppm, parts per million. Now, this is a death certificate written for the Glacier of Ok. It tells us that what kind of glacier it was, and if it had any offsprings. It had some streams that went underground, so I call it illegitimate offspring. And previously it was connected to 2 other small glaciers, and this is where it was. And the reason for the death is excessive summer heat. And what was done to save it? Nothing was done to save it. So why do we know it's dead? It was visited on its deathbed and decided that this was not a living glacier anymore. We have another glacier that we visited yesterday. From here, it looks like a river of ice running down a valley. And I chose a vantage point on the side of the glacier to make photographs for many consecutive years, what it looked like in 1997, 2000, 2003, 2006, and 2010. So from this point, it's not visible anymore. We can make it come back, but only digitally. So this will not be seen as a glacier by you or any of us, or for that matter, as many generations I can imagine that will come. This is the calculation of scientists of what will be the fate of Iceland's glaciers in 1990, 2040, 2090, and 2190, when the glaciers are practically gone. And one of the things that happens then is that Iceland, with the relief of the pressure of the glaciers, it rises from the sea. And this is a map of how much it rises. And in our area, it rises about 1 centimeter per year. It is increasing actually now. And we passed a river yesterday, or a riverbed, with the longest bridge in Iceland, a 900 meters long bridge. It's normal summertime as it was. And sometimes it had great floods, like this one, which covered the entire riverbed and much of the land outside of the riverbed in this huge Jökulhlaup in 1996. And this is what the liquid was like that was flowing down below the bridge. It is not like water, it's like concrete. It's very turbid and heavy liquid that's running down there. And it was announced that this river would disappear from the course within 10 years. It was announced in the year 2000. And indeed, in 2009, the water level gauge in the river shows the death of this river in this course. Of course, it did not die, it moved to another course. But that's what happens in decaying glaciers or retreating glaciers. Rivers change courses and collect onto fewer courses. So we have this bridge, longest bridge in Iceland over a dry river course. Oh, this is a willow herb with its seed ready to fly away by the wind. You see, it's like the hair is like mustache. And this plant is very successful. It's found all over the country because the wind has carried it to suitable places. This would not work for our offsprings. We couldn't ask the wind to distribute them all over the country. Well, there are several things that will disappear as the glacier disappears, like those wonderful images within ice, as we saw to some extent yesterday at the Diamond Beach, and glacier caves, and the petrified, or not petrified, cryofied polar bear sniffing in the air is really a sculpture that is nature has made itself, and it is melting, disappearing. Just to show you another feature that will disappear with the glaciers, it's the surge type glaciers, a glacier surge. A glacier surge is can't describe it. It's coming to a surging glacier. It is breathtaking. It is not only to watch it move, but also to hear it move. It covers all the range of sounds, from 1 hertz up to about way beyond what we can hear. And this is a Sigurdsson glacier in the year 1994. We see a subglacial ridge in here and the mountaintops behind and a mountaintop in front of the glacier. And the next photograph is taken 1 year later after a surge has occurred. It turned into a brimming ocean of ice. Here are the mountaintops behind. Here's the ridge below. And this is what the mountaintop in front of the glacier looks like after the glacier has surged. And this is this same mountaintop. And it's maybe not very easy to see the size of it, but there are a few people in front here. And this is the surface of this glacier at close to the terminus, shattered from the surge. And farther up glacier, it took this image like an ink spot that's dropped on the glacier, the surface, and the crevices that have formed in the fast movement of the surging glacier. So these things will not be seen after about 5 or 6 generations in Iceland. So thank you very much.
Presenter.
We have our guest speaker and Snævarr. I'm pronouncing your name wrong and I apologize. And we have a flash drive. Let's see if we may need that.
His name is Snævarr Guðmundsson. Snævarr Guðmundsson.
Where is it?
Yep. Okay. Let me mute.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Snævarr.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. There you go.
We could have prepared this better, but we never did. So, are we waiting?
Sorry, we're all very friendly here.
Yeah. That's good for me. But here. Yes.
There we go. Oops.
So this is not mine.
Do we need to put it on the computer itself?
Well, I think it's okay. Let's see what's happened.
Okay.
I don't understand it. Let's see what's happening. PowerPoint is not responding.
On computer programs for not responding. Did you mention I ask? Yeah.
No.
Okay, so while we've got a moment, I just wanted to say on behalf of PEI, thank you, a big thank you to the International Arctic Science Committee, who gave us
Yeah, you want
the
to try that?
conference. Basically, I don't think we would have been able to run the conference without it. So they have supported us in that way to bring the Arctic to you and Arctic education to the Arctic to you. So thank you to IAS. Hjördís Skírnisdóttir would have been here in person had she not got COVID just prior to the big major conference she just ran in Tromsø. So she felt a bit like I feel now. Just about managed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wiped out now. She's based in Akureyri. I have her base here in Iceland, and then we hope to continue to work with them. In many years to come.
Well, I'm so sorry about this. It usually worked fine, but for some reason it didn't. Anyway, if it's okay with you, I will want to take my mask off because it's not helping me. Well, my name is Snævarr, and I work at the Southeast Iceland Nature Research Center, and my focus is the regional glaciers, and we have plenty of it, as you already know. And just to start with, the southeast part of Vatnajökull is the largest ice cap in Iceland, and it has several outlet glaciers, many who are named there. And what you can see on this map as well is the ring road. Here's the creeks, and Oddur was talking about showing you, but the yellow line demarcate the margin of the ice in the late 19th century. And at that time, the glacier was much larger, and that is actually the aim of my talk, just to give you some demonstration of the changes that have happened in the 20th century and 21st. And you notice as well, this light gray area it's the area that the ice covered, and then you have several terminal lakes inside it. This is yes, thank you very much, Stefan. If I can. Do everyone hear me? Okay. Good. So this is the ice margin in 1890s, about that. And these are the lakes. And what I'm going to do is telling you a little bit about this region here and this one. And but to start with, I wanted to show you this illustration, which is drawn by this man, Daniel Brun. Daniel was an anthropologist, archaeologist, and he served in the Danish army in the late 19th century. Then he came here to Iceland and did some research on culture. And in the beginning of the 20th century, he was offered a position helping surveying the Iceland. The Danes were then starting a very ambitious work on mapping Iceland in details. Hvað ertu að gera?
Það var að koma glærunni þinni hérna yfir. Vegna blik bara.
And so he drew this picture actually from this place, Höfnin Höfnagöld. And he did it in 1902. And what this shows, sorry, ég verð að sýna næstinu.
Já, ég bara hérna. Við þurfum bara að koma þessu líka, það er fullt af fólki sem ekki á staðnum. Sko. Veitu hvar varstu hérna? Nú heldur bara áfram.
Þetta þarna. Það að gera þetta aftur.
Já. Það er að þú skýra þér ekki.
This picture, this image is then captured in 2017. What is interesting about this comparison is that even through illustration or drawings, you can picture the changes of the glaciers. And for instance, if you look at this one and this peak here, it's that one, and you can see the glacier here was actually merging with that one. So they formed a large outlet glaciers, much larger than now. So this is actually what we are seeing, both through drawings like this and of course all the photographs. And Daniel took this from just outside the coast. This is Rolleseyjar, and it looks like the ice is entering into the ocean. This is taking about 12 kilometers offshore, but it gives an idea, especially if you are well acquainted with the area and have comparison. You would notice how huge the ice, the glaciers were at that time in the beginning of the 20th century. And this is just to point out the traveling in Iceland at that time. This is Jökulsá, the one you drove past yesterday with the big lake with the icebergs. In 1902, there was no lake here. And at the time, the national road was actually crossing the ice above this river, because this was one of the most dangerous river in Iceland. And here in the southeast, the farmers breed special horses to ride the rivers. And even those specially trained and experienced horses, as soon as they found the smell of the river at the time, they start trembling because they knew how dangerous it was. But I will. You can keep this picture in mind later if when I show you a picture of it in the end of this talk. And yes, this is just to pointing out that at the time the culture was a bit different and the transport system as well. Now, but prior to that, this is actually a graph to give you an insight into what was happening in Iceland before. So this graph here is based on what we call the annals, which is a description of each year, and it goes as far as 1300. And I'm not going to this in details, but I only want to point out that when you see a spike down, it means a very difficult life for the people in the island. And when you have a spike up, it's better. So you have a warm summer here, and you have a cold summer and cold winters here. And just to give you an idea of this, it gives us the sense that in the period after 1300, especially after 1515, we had a lot of drift ice around the coast. And with the drift ice came a different climate. And it's so linked together that it's obvious that when we had the drift ice, we had the very bad weather. And this is just like how the annals are saying. They call it strange winter, very hard by weather and long. Horses and sheep died in the north. It's just in the year 1426 and 1566. They lost a lot of stock. Drift sea ice after Easter with fierce cold and lasted a long time in the north with immense cold. Huge snow precipitation in July. And in 1602, the odd year, winter of such extreme in all Iceland, not remembered to have happened before. From Christmas to the late June, drift ice lay at the coast until midsummer. No grass, no fish. So people starved and the stock died. So it was a very difficult time for Icelanders. And of course, they had good years in between, probably that helped them surviving. And this is just to demonstrate the average summer temperature based on 3 months since 1830, something like that. And what we see here, the spikes up, it's warm and cold down. This is from two weather stations on the west and east of Iceland. And the broken line, it's showing us that it's getting, besides that, warmer with time. And during this period, the glaciers, they started to atlas and everything changed. And this was not happening only here in Iceland, it's happening on the northern globe and the southern as well. And we can see here in 1900 in Switzerland and in the Himalayas. So this is nothing special in Iceland, just to let you know. But I'm going to show you a few pictures from this time. I will not show you all from all of this. This is just a picture that shows where we have managed to make what we call a repeat photography, and that means that we can locate the place where old picture had been taken and recapture it. And this is one example. This is the Skálafellsjökull. It's this one, and this is taken in 1902, and shows the surveyors of the Danish surveyors starting their work in Hornafjörður. And this is taken recently, and we can see how much ice has vanished, and the glaciers are getting thinner and thinner. Now, here is another example. I'm going to show you it, actually taken from those mountains here. Here are Skálafellsjökull, the same as before, and he was emerging in front of this mountain with this one here. And note the water, the lake there. I will come to it. And this is taken in 1902 when they were surveying this region. And if we delineate the margin of the ice and go again and recapture it, this is what we get. We can actually see that the ice has lost more. The surface has lowered about maybe 150 to 200 meters. And the same here. This is taken by our colleague Hrafnhildur Hannesdóttir, who is working with Oddur at the Met Bureau. And you can see here, if I go back, that you could actually see the terminus of the other glacier, and it's disappeared as well. Now here's another from the same set of of images. We note there is a lake here, and there is a pass. You can see it briefly, or it's difficult to see it, but you can anyway. And here's another picture that's taken from the other side, and down to the lake. And then you can see this pass here, and this is it is in 1903. Sorry, not in 1902 that this picture was taken, but this is actually taken from the margin of the glacier by now, and here is the pass, and it's about 160 meters from the floor up to this pass, which gives you an idea how incredibly deep this water has been. And if we look from the other side, from the pass, this is what we see, and we can see the remnants of the sediment dumped into this lake. If we then use the map from the Danish, which are quite accurate, but not perfect, we can actually use it to help us to delineate the margin of the Ice Age glacier at its maximum extent. And at the time, the ice was actually reaching this pass. And at that time, which is before then 1898, we can use this elevation, 448 meters, to when we use it with a digital elevation model, we can actually get a very accurate how it looked like. It seems to be it was connected by two outlets. And at the time, when the ice was at its greatest extent, there was a river there that fell down into here, and there was another lake formed in this valley, which reached about 80 meters depth. And in 1898, there was an outburst, what we call Jökulhlaup, that rushed under the ice. And when it came here, it lifted the glacier. So this was emptied as well. So that was the starting of so-called famous Vatnsdalshlaup that then occurred annually after that for several decades. And this picture is then taken up in the pass. And as you can see, there are moraines here. It's what the ice has been pushing, and it did it repeatedly, one and again and again and again. And you find at least 10 moraines like that, which give us the indication that the ice was there for a while. Now, this is the area that we were looking at. Just one of many outlets. Every one of those has their own story. And now I'm going to tell you another story about this one here. And this is Breiðamerkurjökull, and it's one of the largest outlet of Vatnajökull. It's number 4. This one is larger, but leave that out. And it is believed that during the settlement in Iceland in 900 and 1000, the glaciers was much further inland. And according to that, if we assume the margin of Breiðamerkurjökull was at about 100 meters above sea level, it probably was up in the mountains, not far from these nunataks here. So 10 to 15 kilometers higher up or inner up than at present. Here is a road just to use as a benchmark. This is Yakuza River, so you know where the bridge is located that we mentioned before. And in 1600, the glacier had advanced this white valley, and in 700 it merged in front of this mountain here, which is called Breiðamerkurfjall. And by the way, Breiðamerkurjökull, this means actually the white forest glacier. And the idea is that this area here before this glacier advance was covered with vegetation and forest, actually a very profitable land for farmers who lived there. But with the advance of the glacier, all this was destroyed, and in late 19th century, this glacier almost reached the sea, only about 200 meters offshore, and on high tides, the sea actually reached the ice margin, which was very frustrating and difficult time for the locals, because this was the main transport line between the south and the east, and they usually, the farmers went to a village in the east every year with their the stock and wool and things to sell. So this was they were highly relied on. So they were very anxious for several decades what would happen. And we have actually modeled this outlet with a good estimation of to find out how much ice has vanished, and it's about 70 cubic kilometers ice that has vanished since that time. Anyway, in the 1903, this is the map from the Danish, and the yellow line shows us then the maximum extent only 15 years earlier about that, and you can actually see the national road here, and it crosses the ice. When I start studying this area, it usually only gave an idea of the position of the ice margin at different years. So every line here, colored line, it gives us the idea of the ice at certain year, and you have to then think of it that on this side of the line there is a white ice covering it, and the land is getting exposed south of it. Just to give you an idea what those lines tell us, and as you can see, this is from 1890 until 2018, but this is the position of the terminus at that time. And I'm going to give you a brief talk about these three places. I'm going to start on this picture, which is taken in 1935. It shows two persons standing in front of the ice, and I went searching for this place for repeat photography, and I have to calibrate or adjust the picture a little, and then I went with my wife to locate it, and she is standing at exactly where they are standing, and you can see the same boulders. So this is the same place, and at the time the ice has that actually had been merged in front of this mountain here, this glacier and Bremergögut outlet, which is on this side. It has retreated about 2 to 4 kilometers from that point. But this gives us a very important and valuable information that cannot be seen at first. And that is that when you know that the ice was here, located in 1935, you can actually start to trace it by using a digital elevation model. What we did, this is the place the picture was taken, and when you can read the landforms in front of it and behind, you can actually find out the changes of the ice margin at the time. This is just a one piece of puzzle or mosaic into a big picture. So this is what this is useful for. Now, in 1930s, these guys here were the pioneers of glacier measurement. They were both pioneers in a way, but Jón Eyþórsson, he then went on with carrying on the measurement for glacier measurement in Iceland. He was very well known at the time. He was a radio host as well as meteorologist, and he was therefore very well known by the people who were using the radios and hearing him telling a story in the evenings. So he had he started talking to the farmers and asking them to help them measuring the position of the glacier, and this is in 1930. And amongst those who assisted them was first Björn Pálsson, who was a farmer at Kvísker, which is west of this Breiðamerkurjökull, and then his son Flossi took over in the 1940s, and later on his brothers Helgi and Hálfdán, and Sigurður is one of those. These guys are very famous in Iceland for being home-educated scholars, and their work was astonishing. And I have based many things of what I'm telling you here on their work. Now I then took over when they got too old to continue measuring this glacier, and they were very happy when I accepted, because they knew then that their work that had been carried out since the 1930s would continue for a while at least. And they went with me when they were quite old and showed me where the location of the ice had been in the 1951. At the time, there was an expedition, French Icelandic expedition, that was measuring the thickness of Vatnajökull. And if you look at the picture, you can actually see the ice in the behind on this, and think about how much has changed in only 60, 70 years. Now, this cairn is here. So here we see the red from 1904, 1903, 1904. This is from 1945 and 1964, and so on. But I asked them, what about the other cairns that when you were measuring? And they went with me and showed me. And then I decided I would need to locate them and give them a coordination, which I did. And that meant I had to do a lot of work of trying to find them. And I find some that they had erected. And then I could manage to date them actually by using a robust data, which are aerial photographs and satellite photographs. So that meant that we had datings on these cairns, and we have to consider this not only as a markers for the retreat of the glacier. This is also a cultural heritage. This is actually important to see how the local, or what the local were doing with their ice. On the other side of the lake, on the east side of the lake, there were a few men who had been measuring the position of the margin since the 1930s. And this one, Fjölnir Torfason at Hali in Suðursveit, he is still alive, of course, but he handed me over. So now I'm measuring the glacier on both sides, so I'm quite busy. But I was curious about what is happening here. We have the end moraine to tell us where it was in 1890 and 1903, and then 1945, and so forth. What happened here? Because we have interesting features here. We have a moraines here that tell us a story. What's happening, and how can I get this information? And that has been time taking. I had to walk all around to search for moraines that can give me a hint about that the glacier occasionally was pushing a little bit forward. And then I got the help of Fjölnir to show me the remnants of the measurements cairns that were erected on this site. So we went there for a day, and we found several one. This is the biggest one, and interestingly, on it there is a plate that gives us the year and how far from this rock the ice margin is. So you can see the changes, and this is actually noted in a book that I'll tell you a little bit later. And these are marks. These are markings, and it's so easy to not recognize it. You really need the local to tell you about it. And what is happening here? The rocks they're so eroded that they are not getting hold on each other. So in a bad weather, they just rumble and fall and this. But one thing that was interesting is that around them you have a vegetation. So it seems that the rock is absorbing warmth and helping the growth. Anyway, these are here, and then I got this book from the measuring since the beginning, and in it there are numbers. And this is just this is in Icelandic, so you will not, of course, not understand anything. So you have to believe me what I'm saying now. But what it's saying here, in 1939, measured Breiðamerkur Jökull, 2nd of October, west of the river Snævarr, from the cairn at the glacier, 720 meters. And first I thought this big boulder was the cairn that he was talking about. But when I tried to fit the coordinated cairns, it didn't fit. So I said, well, I will give it a error of 10 meters, 50 meters to match, but it never did. But then I noticed in the text that he's talking about the cairn, and he's talking about how it's getting further and further away from the cairn. And maybe I thought, maybe I didn't look or seek well enough. So I went again with Fjölnir and my wife, and actually we found, in the end, we found this cairn. But she is, of course, not standing up erected anymore. She is just fallen. So when I got this numbers and the distance between the cairns, everything fitted perfectly. It fitted. The error was within maybe 1 meter, 1.5 meters. So it was this was it. So now this rock, this boulder is located here, and I thought it was from 1936, but I found out it was from 1937, and that changed everything. So now we have give 1 year. Yeah. But what we can do, we can use the formation in the land to help us to estimate where the margin was, the terminus was at individual years. And then we have a quite good overview on how the ice was developing at this period. And not only that, when you start to categorizing the landscape, you find out it's different. So it has shallow riverbed as well. So by this work, which is originally done by these measurements, we actually can hear the voice of all the shallow riverbeds who are telling us how long they were running, how long they were forming. So we have in details incredible story of the development of all this vast area. Now something is happening, I'm afraid of. Stefi, we'll get a one. Oh, that's it. Right. Sorry about this. Oh. Let's see. Okay. Anyway, the point of the story, maybe it was tiresome, but the point of it is how we can. But the point is that how we can use what we call maybe citizen science to help us understand what is happening. And this, for example, this would have been impossible without the help of the locals. And they want to think about it. They never learn about what I'm telling you. They never learn. They had seen a lot, but they had never not all of it. They noted some, and from that pieces I managed to piece this puzzle. But so briefly, if we think of the retreat of this particular outlet, Breiðavíkurgöt, since the 1890s, it looks like it started to retreat on either side, or where we have the lake now. So it was actually not retreating where we have the lake. It was actually advancing until 1933 there, which actually tell us that this end moraine, which demarcate what we call the last little ice age terminal or terminus, it's not totally right. It's the ice was here for generations. For 70 years they had the ice here, and for more than 70 years the national road was crossing the ice. But this is how it happens. And now you notice that this tongue, and you have the lake on the either side of the ice, disappeared. And this is what we have been seeing. There is we could call it a catastrophic retreat or breakup of the ice, and it seems to repeat itself. So we have at least 3 repeats of massive breakups of ice in the lake. And this is actually what we can then compare and see what's happening in Greenland, what's happening at this Antarctica. Probably this is just a training ground or test ground to observe what is happening on much bigger scale. But to sum it up, we have now a very good idea of how the glacier has been retreating for 130 years. But not only that, we have a good overview of the development of all the riverbeds in this region. So we have the total story, not 100%, but we have the story of how it has changed, how riverbeds were formed and how they disappeared, get dried up, and things like that. And I think that's amazing, especially if you think of that there are about probably 45 more glaciers in Iceland to do it on Vatnajökull, so there's plenty of work to do. And this is the end. So thank you for listening.
You weren't tired. I heard gasps. Any question?
Yeah, I just wanted to know the locals that you talk about. They are like farmers, so what are these people looking?
Yes, they were farmers. After this work, I have talked to a lot of people, old people, to try to find out what do they know about the glaciers. And it's evident that these guys, these farmers there, they were very attentive to the nature. They were focusing on the nature more than average people. So some of them were even always noting down what he's seen, and that's why we have all this information that help us to build this picture. So it's not enough to be just you know, let's say little interest in nature. You have, of course, have interest, and you have to note down. But that's what I've learned from talk to probably about 30 men and women. We talk a lot about the women because we noted that women here, they are of course part of it, but they were not going much in the field because the society wasn't in that way at that time. So the women were at home, but they were noting a lot of things. So we're talking to them, and this is my result, that these people there that were very close to the glacier were very interested in it. The changes they are outstanding. Okay.
And then Hjördís. Oh, wonderful. We'll give you the time that you need. You can have the half hour that you need. We had you. Okay. Did you have?
Yeah. It should be on the desktop, Stefan said, and I have two presentations. Hjördís Skírnisdóttir, we can start with this one.
Okay. Are we good, Stefan? Do I need to share the screen or you have it? Okay. Got it.
Let's share the screen.
To Zoom. Oops.
Wir kopieren es raus und hauen es drauf später. Loris, ich habe gestern übrigens einen kleinen, schönen Short-Reel-Film gemacht. Einfach nur vom Krankenhaus ein bisschen und von der Fahrt ins Dorf. So richtig schön, ist mal heute Abend auch fertig.
Let's go to, where did it go? Where's my video? There it is. I'm looking for my Zoom controls. I've lost my Zoom. Where'd it go? Yeah, I've lost my Zoom controls. I can't find them. Okay. But then I don't have my Zoom controls on the screen. Do you have the Zoom controls there? You can do it from there. Yeah, but we have to share this screen. Do you have it, Stefan? What was that? I'm sorry.
He said it's a different meeting. A new meeting.
No. Yeah, and I can't find it. You're seeing something different than I'm seeing. Shoot. Let me stop this. Let's go to down here. So, Zoom.
Snævarr, varst þú með svona panna?
Yeah, how did that happen?
Hi Veronika, du, ich bin gerade nochmal mit der Lilly in Kontakt wegen dem ICD für die Kinder. Die wollte jetzt gerade nochmal wissen, was der Kinderarzt dort eigentlich überhaupt alles machen kann und schallen kann und aufnimmt etc. Vielleicht, wenn du jetzt gerade vor Ort bist oder nicht vor Ort direkt, aber halt mit den Leuten in Kontakt, kannst du daher nochmal nachfragen. Das wäre super, weil dann kann ich das an die Lilly weitergeben. Danke, Pirti, und grüß mir die Susu ganz lieb. Hi Lilly, das kann ich auch rausbekommen. Allerdings geht es jetzt ja in dem Fall nicht um das Boot, sondern nur um dieses Mother-Child Center in Bugale. Aber von dem Boot, das wird eigentlich relativ gut reported. Da kann ich das schon rausbekommen für dich. Ich muss nur jetzt gerade leider los in ein anderes Meeting, aber ich bekomme die 2 Sachen auf jeden Fall für dich raus.
Last year, which was possible to measure the glacier from this point. And because of the water in the front of the glacier, we needed to measure or estimate this distance here, and we used mathematics to do it. We were measuring this distance here, and we were able to find those corners. And by using, here you can see it again, and by using this here, I believe that this one is familiar to most of you, we were able to measure the distance from the point and to the glacier. And then we noticed that if we go a little bit back, that this part was melting very fast away, and we noticed that what we thought was ice, that was just a huge iceberg. So that was not possible anymore, but we were still able to measure the glacier here, and we did it, and that is the view from the just if you look at the ice, you can see that the ice is getting thinner, and it is always from the same point of view where I try to make the pictures. That is 2018, and 2019 it was a lot of snow, and it is very difficult to see everything and recognize everything when the weather is like that. This was 2020, and there are always a lot of students with us. And this was this was last October, and you can see how the ice is always getting thinner and thinner. And then Snævarr sent me this picture. And we noticed that this line was not in the same climate. In the same climate. And we noticed that this part of the glacier is a huge iceberg, which is not moving anymore. And that was a tragedy for our glacier measurements because we were not able to measure the distance. It is so far away. It has no point to measure this glacier here because it is not a part of the main glacier. It is a huge iceberg. And hopefully, Snævarr, we can find some new way to do this research project with students, because it is very important to take the students and let them have a look at the nature. And I know, because I have been teaching for such a long time, that for many of the students, that are one of the highlights here at school, when they think about what they have been doing in those research projects. And that was about the Heinabergsjökull. I wanted to go to another presentation, Fláajökull, but I'm not going to do anything in this. Fingers crossed.
Get it done.
And that was, let's go to the it was on the desktop, is that? Það Hjördís, that was the one which is open. Fláajökull, it should be, if you go on Skjálfandafell. And then we take Fláajökull. Okay. And also some Icelandic for you.
I'm learning my Icelandic
Yes,
words.
it is time. It is time to do something wise and learn some Icelandic. Okay. I don't have the presentation here on this. Okay, it's now. So we also go to another glacier, which is named Fláajökull, and we started to do this in the year 2016. So, and if you look at this glacier, that is the glacier Fláajökull, and oops, nú fer þetta eitthvað bara. And we are going to part of the glacier. And we are doing it, or we used to do it in some different way. You have maybe heard or know about cookies, when you can connect the information to a satellite. And Snævarr is everything in this project. I have to say it. And we learn a lot from him. And he gave us a picture from a satellite, which told us where the outline, or where the glacier was 2010. And we first went to the glacier 2016. And we decided to measure the glacier from certain points. And then it was also decided to use a GPS to track the ice margin here. And that was possible 2016, 6 years ago. 6 years ago, and that is mostly pictures here. And we went to the glacier first time in April 2016, and then again in the autumn. And this is just showing where we are measuring the glacier, and that was how the glacier looked like. It was still some ice where it was possible to walk on, 2016. And there are some pictures from the first trip, and you can see the ice again. And then 2016, and compare it. It is just a few months, 1 year later here. And where we were able to walk, 2016, we saw already some sign of a lagoon in the front of the ice. And that was the year 2019, and I am never going to measure glacier in a weather like this. And you can see. And then we, that was last autumn, and you can see the changes. And I just wanted to show it to you as I show it to my students. And I think that is my rule, to open the eyes and tell the students that they are able to see how the land is changing. And that is also here, 2021. And the small lake is about 200 meters wide to the ice. And this is the eastern part of this outlet. And 2016, we were talking about it with the students. Maybe we will see a lake here someday. And just 5 years later, we have a big lake in the front, and it will just grow. And what are we doing with all this information? That is what the students did when they came home. They had a lot of information from the GPS and also what they have measured. And they tried to put it in cookies and draw the new outline of the ice, and that is 2016 and October 2016, just a few months later. And there are another picture, and there are some information here that the western part of the glacier has retreated around 135 meters from 2010, or about 22 meters per year. And there are some other pictures just from the trip, and the students, they have to collect all type of information, and this one was about the vegetation, and we were able to see some reindeers. And that is, yes, the question, will we have an ice lake here? And just so to see what we have been doing. And the group picture is also is always very important. And this is the group 2021. That is. And, yeah. I wanted to show you a short video. Stefán, varstu búinn að? Ég sendi þér linkan í gær.
Já. Ég var ekki búinn að vekja. Ég kann nota að spila það. Ég skal bara gera þetta fyrir.
Ætlar að setja settu á. You were supposed to be here 2020. And we made a video 2020 or 2019 to show you.
We were.
Have you seen the video? No. So Stefán is trying to.
We were supposed to be here 2020, then 2021, and we finally made it in 2022.
And the students on the videos, they have graduated.
So keep telling people that they become grown-ups quite quickly.
We're still here.
Do you have the stuff on?
Yeah, I got it. It's just, she said the word thing, and I gotta find the word thing and get the word thing there and so on. So it's all really easy.
Thank you all for being patient with us.
It's worth it.
So while Stefán's looking for the video, we are a little behind, and I apologize for that. So we do have a coffee break coming up here, and we would like to ask that you get back quickly because we have some people coming in remotely for the next.
It's just about 2 minutes. And if you don't want to see all the videos, that's okay. Yeah.
Can you share it from your end, Stefán, or do I need to?
Trying to do it. Trying to do it. Now we both do it.
Okay. Let me see if I can stop share.
She's saying more. Yes. Do an estimate of what it would be.
Yeah,
It is just so that you have an idea what the students are doing. Or how. Yeah. And then they have to write a report about it, and it will be added to the school. Be added to a webpage. So the other people can use the information. Hvað segirðu? Á ég að ýta á eitthvað? Nei. Students are doing the videos. Nei, þau sjá þetta kastur hér.
This is the headmaster.
The headmaster is measuring the distance, and then we have to write everything. Það má stoppa þetta. Kemur svo næsta.
Thank you so much. Let's do a 15-minute coffee break and come back right at 11:25.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's why I'm saying it.
Okay, I'll put you over the floor. That's fine. I will talk to Oh, excellent. I heard that way. I heard it. You should have just allowed So Inga's gonna come on.
She has a 15-minute presentation, so she'll probably go on and then go to 1:45, and then we could do 11:45 to 12:15. And then do our keynotes at 12:30, and then do the second set of licenses.
So you're saying start around
So if we do,
we need to set up stuff.
yeah, so what I'm saying here is we're already behind, and we can't change these speakers because they're
Could you go with Stefan now? Well, I need to let you know how to connect because I'm not going to be able to answer your question when you ask it.
Yeah,
Betsy and I will handle the timetable with those questions. Okay.
because, all right, so I told her we're back at 11:25.
I understand, yeah.
Okay, and Inga needs 15 minutes.
I think that's
Oh, that's 5 minutes. That's 3 minutes. They just walked out the door. Again,
right, 11:25. So can we move Inga's presentation just to move it out of the way?
yeah, I wonder
It's the
if we
simplest
do.
thing to do. She's just on the phone and she's live. I don't
Yeah.
know if you can hear us, Inga.
Oh, I need to stop that. Let me stop that a minute.
I think that the simplest thing to do is to move her 15 minutes if she is able to do that.
Yes,
I said to my presentation, could you just check if it's in the folder? Yeah. Just,
Oh, I have it as I see yours and I got it, so thank you.
As soon as we, because we enter to, I know, we need to tackle the fact, just right now, we need to tackle the fact that we're late. So, and we've got people zooming in, so we just need to check with Inga whether she's flexible at all. Once we've got this bit of the timetable sorted out, I will explain to Betsy.